What is going on, everyone? My name is Jared Haas, and welcome to a post-race conversation live after Tennessee Lottery 250 here at Nashville Superspeedway. Dalton, this race started out as a crash fest. A lot of rash early cautions. You had multiple drivers upset, and contenders like Ty Gibbs getting taken out early in this race.
Yeah, the first green flag run lasted about 5 seconds as they headed into turn one, and we saw the first crash, and then we saw another crash, and then we saw another crash, and it seemed like the first 20 or 30 laps or so was just nothing but yellow flag laps. It was over and over and over again. They just could not seem to finish a single lap, and when they finally did, it wasn't very long. And that's just how this race was. It was so hot and slick. We heard from a lot of drivers. I heard from Coach Savar after his incident. He was running really well today. Ty Gibbs was running really well today. He gets taken out, put some contact from Austin Hill. So I heard Coach Savar say, yeah, it was really hot and slick. We weren't aggressive or anything. It's just really loose out there for a lot of guys. And it was really surprising that they just could not seem to keep it under control. So that's why we had a race that tied the most cautions here in Xfinity Series history here at Nashville. So by far a huge crash fest by the end of it. But man, at the end we had a pretty interesting final restart.
And I think one of the big storylines that was happening on this one of the wrecks too was AJ Allmendinger getting the damage to his right rear. It seemed like one of the drivers was very vocal about that, helping AJ Allmendinger, and he finished with like a second lead after that final restart. What did you see from your perspective with AJ Allmendinger and the damage helping him?
He's just one of those guys, another casualty of all those crashes that occurred today. But it was so how it's not very often that we see where it actually helps a driver to have damage. But yeah, I mean, if that's what happens in that, and you know, it's a completely just a victim of circumstance. Was AJ Allmendinger? It just so happened that it helped him out. He used it to his advantage. I mean, can't really blame him for that. But yeah, it just goes to show that I think we saw a lot of other drivers rise up through the ranks, and they showed that they were, you know, a lot of guys, a lot of underfunded teams that are rising up through the ranks. They had some decent finishes to pay off today. So as a result of all these top names that got taken out, AJ Allmendinger was not one of them. He came out on top.
And Cole Custer was making a big point that that the damages should have been repaired correctly on AJ Allmendinger, and AJ Allmendinger said, you know, the good guys that won. Do you think NASCAR should have made AJ Allmendinger fix those repairs from the damage even further? Even Custer was upset because he was saying all his playoff points were gone.
Well, based off what Cole Custer was saying, I can kind of understand his frustration. He mentioned that they made him at one point fix his damage because it was giving him an advantage. It's not that at a race earlier this year, I think it was Auto Club, where he had a race earlier this year and they told him to fix his damage. So yes, I can understand his frustration for sure. And you know, he felt like he's a guy, he's a full-time driver in the Xfinity Series. He needs that playoff points, and he mentioned that. And it's kind of funny that he also comes out and says, in that quote on his radio broadcast, hey, all these truck guys are coming down here and taking wins, and they're showing up blank and taking wins away from us. Which I find that really hilarious because at one point, Cole Custer was the cup guy coming down the Xfinity Series and winning races. So it's kind of interesting that he would see it that way, but at the same time, AJ Allmendinger comes into the media center. He was asked, what did he think about Cole Custer's comments? And he said, hey, they shouldn't have wrecked in front of me. And go back to the point I just made. It's a piece of victim of circumstance. What's he going to do? NASCAR doesn't make him come down pit road. Why should he? So Cole Custer's more mad about NASCAR not getting involved than he's mad at AJ Allmendinger. I don't think he's mad at AJ at all.
Yeah, and I think this has kind of been a very interesting, chaotic race. And looking at the ones that stood out, I have to give a props to Parker Kligerman. Parker Kligerman this morning, I talked with him, and he's not looking very well at all. Had his pull top out over his shoulder. He was, you know, very pale. He was shuffling around, and he said he already had 2 IVs on him. And it seemed like they had he looked a little bit better for the race time, and it seems like the race car is the best cure sometimes for sickness. And he was using the fuel strategy game, was up there leading before AJ Allmendinger passed him by, and Parker Kligerman is able to come home he was able to finish the race. And I think that was a pretty important thing for Parker Kligerman to do. And I was impressed because this is a really hot day. He's already losing a lot of fluids for being sick. I got to give Parker some praise on that, to able to muscle this out for a race. How about you, Dalton? Who's one that stood out to you?
Yeah, props to Parker first off. We saw a lot of drivers climb out of the car being they were okay before the race, and they were pretty hot and worn out. I can't believe Parker was able to keep it good for long enough to finish the race. But for me, though, I think I gotta go with Zane Smith. A top 10 finish with his first start with RSS Racing. I know it's technically a Stewart Haas Racing chassis, but you got to keep in mind, Zane Smith, it's been a while since he's been in the Xfinity Series, and it's also his first start with RSS Racing. And even better, he felt like that he was actually bummed out. He thought he could have done better. He felt like he had a top 3 car. And after qualifying, maybe he's right. He had a pretty quick car today. So I have to wonder if he's that good today with a team that usually isn't that competitive. If you look at Sonoma, with a team that isn't that competitive, with a chassis of a team that who knows might have an opening for an upcoming driver here soon. Maybe Zane Smith belongs in the Xfinity Series, and he's kind of proven that today. Maybe he belongs somewhere better too. With all this talk about drivers leaving, all these drivers swapping, drivers retiring, drivers getting their shot in the Cup Series, Stewart Haas Racing might have an opening here soon. Who knows? And I kind of like Zane Smith as a candidate because today he showed that he belongs in the series.
Yeah, those are the ones to stand out. And obviously, you can catch all the interviews and racing content on youtube.com/Frontstretch and all our other social media platforms. From Jared Haas and Dalton Hopkins here at Nashville Superspeedway, we will see you tomorrow after the Cup Series race for another post-race conversations. Until then, we'll see you the next time.